Welcome to First. I'm Nichelle Poston along with Shirley Min and Mark Eichman. We have an artsy show to share this week. First, we head over to Artist Ave Station. It's a chance to bring an artist touch to an area not too far from Rodney Square in Wilmington.
Then we want to share the art of Faye Jacobs. Her 50 Shades of Faye show will have you cracking up, but also get you to think.
And visually impaired students in Delaware used to get a lot more one-on-one instruction, but their parents aren't happy with the shift in that focus. We'll explore that issue this week. First, your public media news magazine starts now.
And this week's First Look is all about art and a local venue that serves several different purposes for artists. It's a unique idea that all started with the purchase of an old Wilmington building on Tatnall Street that was in need of some renovations and a person with a vision. The simple project turned into something better, a place where those who like to create can set up shop at Artist Ave Station.
Art is inspiration. Art is the motivation that we need to be inspired and to be motivated ourselves. And I think being surrounded by art, it does something to you where you don't want to not be surrounded by it.
No matter how art inspires you, there's a growing community of artists statewide. In Wilmington, there's a unique space for artists to create. It's called Artist Ave Station.
Artist Ave is a little bit of everything. You know, this thing was born organically.
It's ultimately a place where artists live, work, and can create.
The building has kind of its own identity. We're kind of gearing it towards the actual artists, because we find a lot of times where the artists, they don't have a separation from their living into their actual creative space. So we have 2 studio apartments available upstairs that we want to rent to artists, and then they can use the space to, showcase, and in the basement to actually be creative and come up with the actual work.
James Wyatt is one of the artists taking advantage of this venue to create. He uses it at least once a week. Wyatt usually displays his work on social media, but with Artist Ave Station, his work along with other local artists is displayed often.
I travel to other cities, frequently, and you see the art is incorporated into, the city, and sculptures everywhere and just murals everywhere. So hopefully we can start to see that here too as well.
The building sits within Wilmington's creative district that runs from Market Street to West Center City near Washington Street. It's the ideal place for the Wilmington Renaissance Corporation collaborative artistic vision.
So, the focus for the Creative District is multi-pronged, but one of the reasons for this effort is to help build the sense of community around the arts, to have the arts and artists and creatives have economic opportunities that maybe didn't exist before, and to help push all the investment that's been happening along the Market Street corridor further west into the neighborhood.
It's an idea that didn't immediately come to Knowlton until after he purchased the building. Once he partnered with the Villas, Artist Ave Station blossomed.
And now what we're starting to see is not only do we appreciate and see artists being of value in this space, but now we want to take what we've created here and kind of really pour that into the community. So now we're working on community projects using placemaking and creative different ways to just infuse artists and artist expression within the community as well too, so we can be inspired as much as we want to inspire others.
The venue also provides space to people outside of the arts, everything from cooking classes to nonprofit programs.
It can be utilized in different aspects, and it's filling a void that we thought it was going to fill, and so it's working out.
As for artists like Wyatt, he says for the past 10 years, he's noticed the steady growth of art within the city and believes the time is now to introduce more projects like Artist Ave Station that encourages local talent.
I see it being more integrated. So I hopefully, like I said, you're going to see more art, and not just art, but modern art into, the downtown buildings, the new buildings that they're building. Hopefully you start to see murals go up, and you'll see things on the bridges, and, just more creative stuff. Sculptures are out throughout the city.
Artists Ave Station opened its doors in December, but will officially celebrate with a ribbon cutting ceremony next month on May 6th.
So besides offering local artists a space where they could live or create, does Artists Ave Station offer anything else?
Yes, actually the next big thing will be local programs, pretty much designed to help local artists develop professionally so that they can take their hobby into actually making some money.
Yeah, and turn it into a career.
Yeah.
Well, what else can you tell us about the creative districts where Artists Ave Station is located?
Okay, well, this summer and into the fall, there will be a number of things to see. One includes a great big mural project that we'll get to see at 9th and Washington Street.
Very exciting. All right, thank you so much, Nichelle. We'll report on the official opening next month, and you can read that and all of our Delaware news at newsworks.org/Delaware.
Coming up on First, we're betting you've never experienced a dentist like Ed Yalasov. We promise only great artwork. No drilling for cavities will take place. And Faye Jacobs loves to drill for laughs, but she also likes to tell it like it is. That's later on First.
And you'll never find a husband if you buy a house with another girl.
This month in his Dace on Business segment, we talk about small businesses. The SBA Awards dinner takes place in early May. First contributor Dace Blaskovitz talks to two people who will be a part of that ceremony. John Fleming is a Delaware District Director, and Antara Duda will receive a Special Achievement Award. Here's Dace.
Welcome to the program, Delaware District Director. Tell us about the SBA.
Thank you, Dace. SBA is a nationwide federal agency. Our mission is to help businesses start, grow, and succeed. I've had the privilege of running the Delaware District Office now for the past 4 years. We do this in a number of ways. We have contracting programs, we have counseling programs, and we have capital programs. Help people get access to capital. In 2015, we had a record year. We had over $115 million in lending. Previous year, a record year was only $56 million. So we're very happy to reach that goal, and exciting time here in Delaware.
Congratulations, obviously, but you're newsworthy for a couple different reasons. Tell us about the upcoming annual Small Business Week celebration here in Delaware.
Sure. This is a fun time of year. We're part of a national celebration. National Small Business Week is the first week in May, and each office gets to celebrate, and then there'll be a national celebration in Washington, D.C. during that week as well. And what we're doing here locally is on May 5th, we're having a award ceremony at the DuPont Country Club. It's an evening event, starts about 5 o'clock, and we're going to have a lot of fun with our winners.
And let's run with it. Tell us about a couple of those winners.
Sure. Our Small Business Person of the Year is Henlopen City Oyster House in Rehoboth Beach. Chris and Joe down there run a great operation. They're an SBA loan recipient. They started about 4 years ago, and they make us proud. And they're going to compete on a national level in Washington, D.C. So they may actually be the small business person for the whole country. We'll see. Second, we have our veteran-owned Business of the Year, a gentleman by the name of Dan Ramirez. He owns all of the Papa John franchises in Delaware. He has 5 locations now and doing very, very well. He retired out of the military at Dover Air Force Base about 5 years ago, and we were able to help him through some counseling and assistance. And then
number 3 is
we have our special guest.
Tell us about Ms. Duda.
Duda. She has a lot going on. She has been a really godsend to our office. She works with us on a number of levels. She's not only an SBA borrower, but she also volunteers with a group called SCORE, and they help businesses get started. And again, she volunteers, and it's free of charge for her to work. But she also has a special program that she works with one of our local representatives called the We Think program, and it's specifically designed for women. And I'll let her talk about it.
This is a passion of yours. Compliments again. And it's women in business that have faced barriers or objections or objectives.
Yes. So personally, I came from a corporate background that transitioned into entrepreneurship about 6 years ago, and saw that there were several challenges in terms of just the data around women accessing capital or being able to grow their businesses to pivot it beyond just generating income for themselves. So as I started volunteering with SCORE, I partnered with SBA. Ellen Norbert is my co-founder of this program, and we focused on women who have been in business for 3 to 5 years or more, but have somehow plateaued and is not being able to figure out where the gaps are that's holding them behind. and more importantly, how to overcome them. And that's what this program is designed to do.
And talk to us. Give us the advice or insights, if you would.
So the best way to provide women who are stuck at a certain point is to be able to go deep into what those hurdles are, figure out where their strengths and weaknesses are, and then match them up with counseling, coaching, or other resource partners in the city, state, or at a federal agency level that can help them overcome those gaps. And those could be through learning how to do it, to working with somebody else in a peer group that has been able to be successful, having faced those challenges in the past, or working with other resource partners that focus on solving those problems.
Last question. Let's wrap it up. Give us some big picture. You run a successful business. Give us some big picture advice for the audience.
I think realistic goal setting, short term and long term, is key. You have to have a vision, but you have to have a very robust execution plan, measure success, and constantly adjust to change around you.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Dace.
One note about Dace and this interview. Dace Blaskovitz has been in the financial services field for nearly 40 years and is a longtime contributor to WHYY. Also, in the interest of full disclosure, he has recently taken a paid part-time assignment with the Caesar Rodney Institute as a consultant.
You can watch any part of this show at WHYY.org/first. Watch whatever show you want, whenever you want. If you hang around the rest of this show, you can check out the spring tradition of the egg drop. The Delaware College of Art and Design gets really creative, and what you see here is the end results. Check it out at the end of the show.
The purpose of the project was, I guess, to teach artists who are still learning the concepts of design and drawing and stuff, how to use all of those abilities to actually create something in a physical third dimension form, hence the term 3D design, and not just in terms of visual appeal, but in actual practicality. So we're learning how to, make sure eggs don't crack.
Many parents of blind and visually impaired students in Delaware say their children aren't getting the services they need. They argue it's a chronic problem, and it caught the attention of our education reporter, Avi Wolfman-Arendt.
Well, Shirley, frustration boiled over earlier this year when the Delaware Division for the Visually Impaired announced it would have to roll back services for blind students due to a teacher shortage. In February, we ran this story documenting the complaints of parents and advocates, and today we'll update you on some of the progress.
The good thing is about being blind is the fact that anything you don't want to see, you don't see, so.
19-year-old Elizabeth Harrington has been blind since birth, and seemingly since that day, she and her mom, Debbie, have been fighting for her educational future.
If you're a kid that can see, you go in school, you have a textbook, and you do your homework from the textbook. Well, it's not that simple for Elizabeth.
Take, for instance, the statistics class Elizabeth is taking to fulfill her math requirement.
They do charts and graphs. So those charts and those graphs, I don't get. I don't understand at all.
Elizabeth just returned to Appoquinimink High School in Middletown, Delaware for the second semester of her senior year. She's supposed to receive 5 visits a week from a TVI, or teacher for the visually impaired, to help translate class materials into a format she can understand. Right now, she's only receiving 3 visits a week.
I don't know if I'm going to pass instead of, I don't know.
For the last 1.5 years, Elizabeth has attended the Maryland School for the Blind because Delaware simply hasn't been able to provide the education Elizabeth needs. She wanted to come home to finish high school, but even that might prove too difficult.
If you have to take another year because you simply haven't gotten the process down or the information down, the academics down, that's one thing. But if you have to take another year because you couldn't get the education services that you deserve, then that's a totally different story.
The Harringtons aren't alone in their struggle. Delaware's Division for the Visually Impaired estimates that about a quarter of the state's 260 blind and visually impaired public school students aren't getting the full services they're entitled to. While that shortage is supposed to be temporary, local advocates believe blind students in Delaware have always been an afterthought.
There is a school for the deaf, and the deaf-blind students are also served under that statewide program. And then there is a statewide autism program as well. There is no school for the blind in Delaware.
Instead, Delaware uses a model where specialists visit students in their home schools. In Delaware, the student-teacher ratio for these specialists is 28-1, about double the national average. As a result, says Lisa Lawson of the Brandywine School District, blind students sometimes aren't even offered the extra help they need. She remembers one case vividly.
So we were discussing it for this one particular child. And we agreed as a team that he required some extended year services. The teacher for the visually impaired, and no fault to her, said something to the effect of, well, we can't do that because there are only 2 teachers for the visually impaired that are working in the summer. And I know they're already spread thin, and I have one of them downstate, so we can't do that.
The responsibility for reforming the system now falls to Dan Madrid, director of Delaware's Division for the Visually Impaired. Last summer, a legislative task force called for big changes. They included lowering the student-teacher ratio and increasing the number of orientation and mobility specialists, among other things.
That's another one. You're exactly right. That was RIB.
I think the next 6 months to a year, as we continue to implement the evidence-based practices, as we continue to rehire, train, and create future teachers in Delaware, I think that will ultimately tell us where we're going to end up in the long run.
Despite present shortages and long-time complaints, advocates and officials sense a real opportunity. All involved say they're united and pushing for change.
Nobody here is angry at the people. We're angry at the system.
Since we reported this story, the Delaware Division for the Visually Impaired has hired 2 new contractors to help handle the caseload. It plans on bringing 2 more teachers on board either this month or next, and they've been given the go-ahead to hire up to 6 more teachers in the future.
So that sounds good, but then what does this mean now for Elizabeth and students like her from your story?
Well, so it's good news for Elizabeth. She's now getting the services that she needs 5 days a week instead of 3. And, her mom, Debbie, says she's doing a lot better in school. Statistics class is going a lot better, which was a problem before, and she's on track to graduate in the spring.
Okay, so is Debbie satisfied with these changes?
I think it's a yes and no sort of answer. I mean, she's satisfied that Elizabeth's getting what she needs, but she still thinks that lots of students out there who don't have strong advocates aren't getting those required services. And I think on a larger level, there's this sense that there needs to be trust built here. They know that these parents and these advocates need to see that Delaware is committed long-term to these, vulnerable students.
Okay, thank you so much, Avi. Now, as always, you can read more at newsworks.org/Delaware.
Rehoboth Beach resident Faye Jacobs is entertaining audiences across the country with her Tell It Like It Is one-woman show about life, love, and all the good, bad, and ugly in between. As you'll see, her show, Aging Gracelessly, 50 Shades of Faye, tackles tough issues with humor that will make you laugh and think all at the same time.
One single principle has guided me along this sometimes bumpy but always interesting road. My father always said, nothing is ever so horrible if you wind up with a good story to tell. And have I got stories?
Faye Jacobs is not one to mince words.
They call me a sit-down comic, the last comic sitting. I tell my story based on my 4 books of essays that I've written over the last 20 years. And it's about my life, but my life as I've been a GLBT activist.
She tackles tough issues like a sniper his target.
A bumper sticker started showing up on cars. Keep Rehoboth a family town. We knew what that meant.
Her weapons of choice are words and humor. Nonetheless, the impact is just as powerful.
She could take what's a normal situation for most people and find such humor and such humanity in it.
Steve Elkins has been working with Faye since the late 90s when she walked into his Camp Rehoboth office with a complaint of discrimination by a local business owner.
I said, well, write me a letter about it. Write a letter to the editor and I'll print it. She wrote the letter and it was so poignant and so funny at the same time that I called her and I said, you need to write a column for me all the time.
Out of that column came several well-received books.
I would read my stories and people would laugh. And they'd say, you have to do stand-up, you have to do stand-up. So I said, no, I'm too old to memorize anything for stand-up. But they said, well, put it in a play, put it in a book. So I sat down and I wrote a script, and now I'm touring all over the country.
Faye doesn't just roll back the curtain on her private life. 50 Shades of Faye also puts her wife, Bonnie, in the spotlight, and she doesn't seem to mind at all.
It's just like every other married couple. As you go through life, you build stories about what you've gone on. You share that with your friends. We share it with a lot of friends now, which makes it a little more interesting.
A sentiment the audience also agrees with.
Magnificent, magnificent. The stories are so wonderful, and she has such a way with words.
First of all, stories are the best way to overcome ignorance and prejudice and personal stories. And then if they're humorous stories and people can laugh, it relaxes them and they become more open, and it's possible to accept more things that you never thought you would accept.
At 68, Faye is enjoying her newfound career that's shedding light on an unpleasant time in LGBT history, and she's doing it one laugh at a time.
It's opened up a whole new world because people come see this show, and young people come see this show, and they want to know what it was like for me and my friends in the community of Rehoboth Beach 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we did not have marriage equality, when we did not have the rights we have, when we didn't have anything that we have today, and yet we were outlaws and it was fun.
Faye says her show isn't just for a gay audience, it's for everyone. She's most proud when audience members tell her afterwards that they didn't know the battles the LGBT community had to overcome, but are fully aware of it when they leave.
In our first experience this week, we are going to the dentist. This dentist has an artistic side. As a young boy, Dr. Ed Yalasov was inspired by a family friend who was an artist. Now, in the basement of his dental office, Dr. Yalasov can be found mixing his love of nature with copper. Samples of his work can be found all over his Wilmington dental practice. Check it out.
I'm a dentist. I love dentistry. I enjoy working with patients. I started copper work about 5 years ago when my oldest sister offered opportunity to purchase a copper mobile, but it wasn't the style that I wanted. So I challenged myself to see if I could create one and give myself a year to do it. I bought some copper, and within 4 months I had a Hawkmobile. And after about a year, I decided to branch out and do some other work. So I started doing some copper trees and wood bases, and it's been evolving ever since. My parents were good friends with an artist. His name was Aurelius Renzetti. My father would take me to visit and watch him work. For him, it was the process of doing artwork, not hurry up and get it done. And that impressed me, so I try to keep that in mind, just enjoy the process and enjoy it. I went to an estate sale. As I was leaving, I noticed this beat up bench, and I asked the people, is this bench for sale? And they said, yes, you can have it for $100. And by the way, it belonged to Aurelius Renzetti. I bought it for $100. It has inspired me. If I ever need a little help, I mentally ask Aurelius for his help, and sometimes I get an answer. The metalwork came first, and then I slowly added the wood, and then I started using more interesting pieces of wood. Really enjoyed learning how to work with the wood. The creativity has been fascinating for me. I may have come up with an idea, but how do I actually do it? When I started with the copper work, I wanted to do something a little more interesting. I taught myself how to cut out the copper to create each leaf or feather, whatever object I'm making. Well, I consider dentistry number one. I enjoy dentistry. I hope to do dentistry for a long time. Art is secondary, but I really enjoy it and hope to continue to grow with it. I want people to enjoy nature and to appreciate nature, get out in nature. I also want people to smile. So my work is whimsical and it brings smiles to people's faces.
Dr. Yalasov signs and names all his pieces, and in another nod to his dental practice, he uses a dental drill to do it. You can get more information when you visit him on the web at sculpturemobiles.com.
Next week on First, the Delaware art secret. First goes inside a warehouse with some priceless artworks. Why are they here? Let's just say one reason is the business-friendly nature of the First State.
We'll look for more on that and other stories next week. That is First for this week, though. We thank you for watching what the Delaware Press Association calls the best newscast in Delaware. For Nichelle Polston, Mark Eichman, and Avi Wolfman-Arendt, I'm Shirley Min. Have a great week. And we're going to leave you with the creative talents of the students from the Delaware College of Art and Design. Enjoy.
Oh, he's dead. Oh! Make it?
The purpose of this is a design assignment where they research Leonardo da Vinci, and they both form and function, and it's a physical problem. It has to do with physics, and it's also a sort of a theme that we have developed with both of the groups going on to their freshman year, which is the second year, or they graduate college and they go on to another college. So it's really a assignment that is multi-purpose.